Welcome to the Voodoo Power Podcast.
Welcome to Plates and Pancakes. We're sitting down today with Jared Bidne. Coach Bidne is the owner of Explosive Mechanics Gym in Peachtree, Georgia. Bidne played football at the University of Memphis, and while there, he qualified for the Collegiate Weightlifting Championship for Olympic lifts. He received the Iron Tiger Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Weight Room. He is world-ranked bench presser for the IPF and Georgia State record holder in USA Powerlifting. In that time, his gyms had 43 athletes with a 40-inch vertical. In 2017, the gym had the number 1, number 7, and number 9 vertical jumps in the nation. On top of that, Explosive Mechanics had an outstanding 120-plus athletes receive D1 college scholarships. Bidne has a degree in exercise science from the University of Memphis. He is certified through the NSCA as a Distinguished Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. He has the Westside Barbell Special Strength Certification and Specialist in Sports Nutrition Certification. He's worked in the Human Performance Lab at the University of Memphis, where now he uses his gym as a laboratory. So welcome to the show, Coach.
Oh, well, thank you.
Now, we have talked once before on the phone, and it was just an amazing phone call. But the one thing that I learned through that phone call is you test everything monthly. You know what your athletes are doing at any point from their records and everything you track. When did you realize how important that was?
From the beginning, because if someone was going to pay me, I wanted to make sure that they were going to get better. I don't like people coming in and I say I'm doing this, and it shows that if they go somewhere else and get tested, like if you got a football player, first thing to do is sometimes go to camp and get tested on a 40-yard dash. I don't want to tell that athlete, hey, we're going to do this and get faster, than not be able to show them on the monthly progress rate at which we are getting faster. So usually I can average about 1/10 of a second off someone's 40-yard dash per month. And I wanted to be able to show them that on paper, because then that gives them more meaning behind what they're doing as far as training. If you're doing all, like most time when I was in high school, we did all this working out and training or whatever, and we never tested. I ran the same 40 every year. I went testing my 40-yard dash. I jumped the same damn vertical, and so if it's my job to help someone, I want to make sure that they are getting what they're asking me for.
Yes, and results drive results. If you never know what your vertical is, how can your vertical ever get better? That seems like a common sense thing, but it gets left out of so many weight rooms. If you don't know where you're at, how do you ever know if you're getting better?
I was frustrated. I got a kid that just came to me. We're training for his pro day, and he was at a major Power 5 D1 university. They won a national championship a few years ago. And he left high school with a 425 bench, and he got weaker through college. So when he came to me, we maxed out. He had a 345 bench max. Then he showed me an old video when he was in high school of what he was doing before. I said, how the hell do you spend this number of years and that type of collegiate strength and conditioning program and get weaker? That makes no sense to me. I hated that crap. When I was at the University of Memphis, my bench was 365 the entire time at Memphis. I didn't start benching in my 400s until after I graduated. So I don't want to put all that work in and not get paid. A result is getting paid for the work that you're doing. If I got I was doing all this work and getting nothing out of it, and I just got so frustrated with it. So I wanted to make sure I didn't do that disservice to my athletes. If they trusted me to train them, I was going to trust them that I'd get them a result.
Now, we had talked about this before, and you track the 40 at least every month. So you know what you're doing as far as, is this training improving it by 1/10, or are we getting slower by 1/10? And then through the years, you have developed kind of your system where you know what's going to make a kid faster.
Yeah, I don't do any technical running. I don't work on their starts. I don't do anything run. I'm not trying to make them better at running the 40. I'm just trying to make them faster at running the 40. It's a big difference from sitting there working on technique, working on their first step. I could send you a video of some kids that look horrendous at running the 40-yard dash, but yet they're knocking off 1/10 of a second per month. Just like I had these kids. I got a kid right here, high school kid. He ran a 5.28 his first month, 5.16 his second month, and a 5.03 his next month. But his body weight has gone from he started off at 177-pound body weight. The next month he weighed 186 pounds, and the next month he weighed 194 pounds. He gained 17 pounds and went from running a 5.28 to 5.03. and 40. But on their folders and whatever at the gym, I got on the back of their folders, it's a just keeps track. So if he started December, January, February, you could see on the back, he actually ran a 5.28 and a 5.29 his first month. The second month, he ran a 5.16 and a 5.19. The third month, he ran a 5.03 and a 5.04. This is all time with the Brower timing system to where it's not manipulated by me because it's electronic start on them. And I've got the thing set up at 10 to 20 and to 40. That way I can see where the 40 is breaking down. That way I know what kind of strength stuff we need to do during that month to add that into the system to make sure that speed continues to improve, whether it's the back half or the first half without ever having to run or work on technical running. Sports, it's about the ability to accelerate. So you have to overcome your own inertia as much as you can. So if you're not gaining strength appropriately, you're not going to be able to overcome your inertia. And so many people want to work on like flying tens and speed drills. That's for track. It's not accelerating things. Like that's when you get going. So like you hear these universities that they want to do miles per hour. Well, the closer an athlete is to the ball, the more explosive and more strength they have to have. If you got a linebacker, that linebacker's got to go from 7 yards off the ball to hit that hole very quickly. He don't have time to build up maximum speed. But by the time he hits the hole, he's got to direct and change direction again. So if he don't have that relative strength to overcome his mass, he's not going to move his mass very quick. That's why you see a lineman, if they're weighing 300 and you're squatting 500, they're not squatting enough relative to how much they weigh in order to accelerate them like they need to be done.
Now that opens up a question I've wondered myself: is mass moves mass? You have to get the bigger athlete stronger. When you watch a lot of these films, they show their running back and linebackers bench or squatting 600, but they don't show their linemen squatting these big numbers. Is that something that gets missed on? That your big guys close to the ball should be relatively a lot stronger than what they are?
Yeah, and I think that people like to see the smaller size linebackers and people lifting the big weight, but they need to be making the bigger guys stronger. Like I've had some high school kids. I've had 3 high school kids reach a 600-pound squat. And so I had 4. I had one at 600 even, one at 611, one at 661, and one at 625. And so the lineman at 300 pounds could jump a 34-inch vertical on a 5 flat 40. And when I say these 40-yard dash times, I am speaking on a complete laser system. I get people, hey, Jared, I ran a 4.7 at a camp. Yeah, but you run a 5 flat here. I'm supposed to be improving them for that camp. Yeah, I'm glad you did. But everyone outside the gym environment, here's the thing, they'll think they run 4.7. I have a kid come, Jared, I run a 4.740, and they come to me run a 5.141 on a testing laser. They think my lasers are broken. No, you've just been mistimed. So that can be uber frustrating too. So like I had this other kid, he started off, some of these numbers are slow. Like he started off at a 5.8. The next month he ran a 5.6, and the next month he ran a 5.5. So that's still getting my average of a tenth of a second off per month. That's a high school, here's a 13-year-old. His first month he came in, he ran a 5.58. Next month he ran a 5.47. The next month he ran a 5.42, and the next month he ran a 5.20. Although he was stuck at that 5.4 for 2 months in a row, if you were to go 5.5, 5.4, 5.3, 5.2, it showed up on paper. So that 5.42, that 1 month he ran, he did not get in the 5.3 range. So he ran 5.5, 5.4, 5.4, 5.2. So that last 5.4 could have actually been a 5.3. I'm still doing what I'm saying by getting that tenth of a second off your 40-yard dash per month. And the crazy thing about it, I had a board record for 13 and under on the board. The record was a 37.2-inch vertical. This kid jumped a 38.2 vertical at 13 years old. His first month was a 30.5, a 32.4, a 36.3, then a 38.2. And so that way he gets, okay, first month I test him 30, next month he sees 32, next month he sees 34. That keeps him, after training for several months, that keeps the fire going in those people because they see that, oh, damn, he could be the first 13-year-old I get to reach a 40-inch vertical. And so his bench, he started off at a 125 bench. Next month, 135. Next month, 145. Next month, 160. Next month, 180. But that's not the crazy thing. The craziest thing I've seen, I've got this high school kid. He started off with me at a 185 bench. The next month, 210. At the next month, 250. How do you gain 40 pounds like that? And so I'm interested if he hits 275. We go up from 185 to 275 pounds in a 4-month span. That's ridiculous. Usually I'm trying to average 120 pounds in a year. And so like he's not the only one. So this other kid went from 185. Where is it at? A 165 to 180 to 200. And this other kid, I got my notes all over the place. I had a kid last month. He benched 365. Last week he did 365 for 3. So his max was 365. Now he did 365 for 3. I had another kid. He benched max 385 last month, and last week he did 385 for 3. So you got 2 kids that are above 350. Whatever their max was, now they're wrapping it. So then I had another kid. He came in with a 315 bench. The next month was 330. The next month was 350. So you're taking these kids already in a 300. So they're not newbie gains if they're already in the mid threes or close to the mid threes. And so you just see this one kid went from a 345 to a 360 in 1 month on his bench. This other kid, he went from in a 1 month, he went from 25.3 to a 28.4 in his vertical. And so and another one went from a 32 to a 34 to a 36. And his bench max went from 140, 165 to 180. It's just kind of like, I'm showing these kids, I'm trying to show these parents these numbers because they're not getting these numbers at school. They're not getting these numbers hardly anywhere else. And so if they're going to a cab, they're going to be physically stronger and faster. This one kid he started off with a 22.8 inch vertical, then the next month 25.3, the next month 29.0. So he's 22. He never thought he'd be that close to a 30 that quick. So I don't know. I just kind of ran it off on these numbers.
Well, it's, at the end of the day, the numbers are what tells the story. And so you can take a kid's folder, look at the numbers, and you're going to see the work he put in or she put in to get to where they are. But in saying that, I know we're talking about 40 numbers, but the one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is the ability to stop and cut. The stronger you are, the quicker you can stop and the harder you can cut.
Yeah. And so you have to it's all physics. You got to be able to overcome your own body weight. And so if you've got mass X moving at a certain rate of speed, you have to have that strength to stop that mass in order to redirect it. And so years ago, I was reading a study. It was done on Division II college football players. The athletes that squatted 2.1 times their body weight were significantly faster than the group that squatted 1.9 times their body weight. And then also I was trying to read, because I was trying to figure out this, because in the beginning I didn't get numbers like this. So I was trying to figure out how come I'm not getting these numbers. And I was reading another study, the characteristics of elite athletes. So I was trying to start off characteristics of shot put. Your shot put guys, your Olympic level shot put guys are benching 550. Bench is correlated with shot put. And so you got Science of Sports Training book. Sprinting is specific, squatting is sport specific to sprinting because it directly correlates. So I was trying to figure out how to get these numbers correlate. So I figured, okay, we got this. You have to be relatively strong. But then if you read super training, you got the static dynamic method, which increases absolute strength and rate of force development at the same time. So you're targeting the nervous system when you're doing the box squat. Box squatting is not, I did a podcast one time. I said I hated box squatting because people they see the box and they say it's cheating. I don't give a shit what it is or what we're doing. I care that it's improving the 40-yard dash. Like I told my parents, I'm going to help your kid get faster with this. And it works. And years ago, I had 2 kids. This one kid, he wanted to squat. He wanted to squat how they squat. He wanted to do a regular squat. I said, if you don't box squat, you won't get faster. He said, I don't care, Jared. I want a regular squat. Okay. I said, well, I don't care if you squat 600. If you don't have the ability to accelerate and if you can't sprint faster, you're not going to be playing football. And so his friend said, Jared, I don't care what to do. I just want to get faster. They both moved 315 at 6 meters per second. They were both relatively around the same body weight, same body structure, everything. And so one kid, he said, I don't care, Jared. And another kid, I'll do whatever. And the other kid said, Jared, I want a regular squat because he wanted to be strong in the weight room at high school. So then you got that typical stereotypical kid, whatever, that's strong in the weight room, but does not transfer to the field. And I've had people, so let's go over this. They both ran a 140-yard dash. They both squatted 315 at 6 meters per second. At the end of the first month, one of them ran a 5.1, the other one ran a 5 flat. Okay. That's only a tenth of a second, not enough to convince the other kid to start box squatting. Well, the next month, the kid ran a 5.1 again, and his buddy ran a 4.9. Still not enough. And everybody kind of wants to say I ran a 4.9 or 4.8. Well, the next month, the kid ran a 5.2, and then and his buddy ran a 4.8. So now we went from both running a 5.1 each to now one running a 5.2 and the other one's running 4.8. And the next month, the kid ran a 5.2 again because he still would not freaking box squat. And his buddy ran a 4.7. Well, his buddy ended up getting a scholarship and going somewhere. Another kid I never heard from again. I was using it as a tool to show him. And then I've had some kids. I had a girl that was super turtle slow. If I even have her, I may have her numbers right here. Brought some notes with me so I don't want to falsify any of these numbers. It's all, turtle slow. Look at this. She ran a 7.8 40-yard dash. I have, holy shit. So she ran a 7.8. The next month she ran a 7.7. The next month she ran a 7.3. Next month she ran a 7.2. The next month she ran a 6.8. So we went from a 7.8 to a 6.8, and that was all done box squatting. Because when these people come in, I'm trying to tell them I could do this, so I got to show them. So that's why I got on the back of their folder, it has their monthly checkpoints to make sure, okay, one side of the folder's got their workouts and how many sets, reps, and everything else that I want them to do. And on the back side of the folder is what result did we get out of it that month. So she went from a 7.8 to a 7.7 to a 7.3. So she had a pretty big drop from that 7.7 to a 7.3, but then a 7.2, then another big drop at a 6.8. She ran a 6.88, and those all numbers were done with box squatting. Well, I don't have her age or her body weight tracked on here, but I was trying. Her throwing speed in that amount of time went from 45 miles an hour to 50 miles an hour. I did track that because she played softball. But I said, I call a regular squat when you're just doing a traditional squat more of a structural thing. So I got to kind of go back, build a little bit bigger base so that we go back to the box and kind of go up again. So some of my athletes box squat, some of them regular squat. If I need them to gain weight, I'll regular squat them because they'll gain weight with the regular squatting quicker than they will box squat. But box squatting is using a static dynamic method in order to help us improve our running speed. So once I got them on the hook, showing them that I can, now I got to talk about the longer term training plan. We need to do this so that we can go over here and get this again. And so after I took the box away, she ran and started a regular squat. She went from a 6.8 to a 7 flat, then to a 7.1. So we just almost like that other kid I gave you an example. He went backwards and she started going backwards, but they were still getting stronger at the regular squat. And that kid, I didn't mention this, but the kid that went from a 5.1 to a 5.2, and his buddy went from a 5.1 to a 4.7, they both started off, I said, at 315 at 6 meters per second. But the crazy kick point is they both squatted 405 at 6 meters per second. So they both had the same strength increases, but the results on that 40-yard dash were showing up differently. And that's why we box squat, because I was trying to tell people, hey, if I've got to build someone's structure, if I got to make them gain weight, say, Jared, I don't care about getting my son faster right now. He's got to gain weight. The coach has said he's got to gain weight. So I'm trying to okay, if he's not going to regular squat, if he's got to gain weight, we're going to do this, but he's not going to show up in sprint speed. And so everybody's like, oh, yeah, whatever. So it's the first time I've got about 4 dads come in and watch the kids all the time right now. And the one kid I had out of the 4 kids, I had one kid box squat and I had the other kids regular squat. Well, come test time, because they're all working out together, but they're squatting differently. The only kid that improved their 40-yard dash time that month was the kid that was box squatting. The other 3 stayed the same on the 40-yard dash. And so I'm trying to warn the parents what's going to happen before we even get started, because I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm not trying to be a salesperson. I'm trying to be a truthful person if you do this, this is what happens over here. If you do this, this is what happens over here. And so I told them because they came in and they ran 3 miles at track. I said, what the hell are y'all running track for? Every time I've had an athlete run track, they've gotten slower. I said, I've never had an athlete. I've had an athlete run from a 4.8 to a 5.2 during track season. That's terrible because they're coming out. So that's why I hate that track stuff, because they don't know anything about increasing their relative strength, because you got to 100 meters, which is a long time, or the 200 meters. You can clean up that time just by teaching the kid how to run more efficient. There's no such thing as efficient running in sports, especially if you're baseball, softball, or football, or even soccer. It's all change of direction, acceleration. So if you can't accelerate, you never get to that top end running speed and improve upon that top end running speed. So I don't understand the point in working on that. And I'll just get so frustrated and try. Okay, I pulled out some folders. I read this folder to you, and I'll show the parents. This kid went from a 4.8 to a 5.2 during track season. I had another kid go from a 4.9 to a 5.2. I had a kid last year go from a 4.7 to a 5.5. I said, Jared, what else? I said, I told you not to run track. But how is that possible? They don't believe me when I tell them until they have to experience it themselves. So I'm trying to pre-warn the parents and pre-warn the kids. And so this group of dads that I pre-warned, they didn't get mad at me when their kids didn't improve their 40-yard dash because that one kid, because I tried to tell them. Well, the next month I box squatted all of them, that all of them improved their 40-yard dash time. Because sometimes when you talk to people, they're like, yeah. All right, I know you're not getting what I'm saying, but I'm trying to tell you, and I'm trying to show you on paper the results. I'm not just trying to tell you something based off of thought or philosophy that someone told you. I'm trying to actually show you. So the dad actually pulled his kid out of track. And so I was pretty impressed with that. But there was a dad that left his kid in track. The kid went from running a 5 flat to a 5.4. And I showed him, I pulled out that kid's folder and I showed him, I said, look, see what's happened? His vertical went down by 3 inches too. But the bad part is you got these high school kids running track, but they're trying to get a football scholarship. And so once you're done with track season, which ends in May, you don't have time to chop that 40 back down because May track season, you got spring practice for most of high school kids here in Georgia. It happens in May. So you got 2 weeks of spring practice. Then you got that dead week. They're going to go on vacation or something. So May is kind of a real spot. You may get them 1 or 2 weeks out of an entire month, unless you got some of the dedicated ones that come after practice. I had so many kids come out of practice out of this one school this past year because I knew the results. So they were scared to miss. Even after they went to spring practice, and some parents were like, man, y'all just came after practice. They said, yeah. Because after you see and you've improved those numbers, you're scared to miss because you want to keep those gains going. Well, in May, for the people that ran track, they've already tired of running, so they're not really going to be consistent because they're not seeing the results at the gym, so they're not coming. So that when they get to camp season in June and July, the first thing to do when they get to a camp is got to run. And they put up a crappy time, they're not even going to have a chance to even get looked at.
Now, building their box squat, do you rely more on a brief maximal tension? Are you looking at the 3 to 5 rep range to really build that strength in there, or are you looking at a 1 rep max on that?
No, it's all 3 to 5 brief maximal tension. Because these kids, even in Louis' beginnings and the early 2000s, late 90s, they did three rep maxes. But as he became and got more advanced people, they started doing 1s and 1 rep maxing. But if you read super training is kind of where all this stuff is. You can get some of it in the science and practice of strength training, but super training digs down to it a little bit more. Brief maximal tension, you're still getting the same neuromuscular response out of the brief maximal tension as if you're doing 1 rep maxes. And so I had a chance to go talk to Louis before he passed away, and I was telling him what I was doing. Louis this and that. I said, because a lot of people would take what Louis is doing, he would do it like the 8 sets of 2 on speed squats or whatever for their speed bench. And they were already strong. He just had to bring up their weaknesses to make them stronger. So because these people already knew how to bench. So once they just had to keep that tension going. If you read science at super training, the people that maxed out once a week, they still got a little stronger or they still maintain their strength. So if Louis can get them and maintain their bench they're not increasing their bench. The dynamic effort method does not increase your strength, just increases your rate of force development. And so he had to work, because I don't want to get too lost in it, but those bands and chains are when you're lifting in gear. And so he's got to teach these people how to outrun the gear before the gear quits working. So if you got a bench shirt and it quits working here, you got to be able to build up enough speed before that sticking point in order to get through it. So that's the whole point of like speed benching. It's just like karate. So if I got my hand right up against the board, I'm not going to be able to break that board in karate. I got to build up enough speed. I got to back my hand off of it, build up enough speed before I get to the board so I can get through it. And that's the kind of same way with sticking point, with even with the box squatting at Westside, they squatted in briefs, even in training, when they were going against bands on their dynamic effort squat days, because you've got to practice. You got to feel where that sticking point is, and you got to work on your speed to get past that sticking point. And so over time, they were doing that, but also adding different accessories and stuff, bringing up your triceps in order to help your bench. If you can't pull the bar down to your chest, working on your lats and things like that, that'd help your deadlifts as well. So it just depends on how you're taking this training and directing it. For me, I don't have my athletes trying to outrun squat suits or bench shirts. We don't do speed benching. We don't do speed squats. Our speed squats, in order what we have to do, jumping and running are correlated. If I get my athletes to jump higher, I know that sprint speed at the end of each month will show up.
Hey, building on to what you're talking about with the dynamic method, I know talking to you last time and looking at some of your stuff, you've replaced the speed squats with your jumps. And that is your dynamic effort, is through jumps, because you're moving so fast.
Yeah, and we're using loaded jumps too. We're not just jumping. I tell people you can't increase your bench press without adding tension. You can't increase your squat without adding tension or load. You can't increase your vertical jump ability without adding some type of external resistance to it. And if the load's too, like you see these colleges doing trap bar deadlift, that's too heavy. That you could tell by the way they're doing stuff. They've not ever read the book. They're just doing or copying whatever they've seen done before. And when they're jumping with weights at wherever else, they're not measuring jump height. So what are you jumping for? Like if I'm going to jump, I want to get a number out of it so I can see, oh, I jumped to 23.3, get in my head, or kind of like you mother and get a 24. Okay, now I know how to improve. If I see a 23.9 or a 24.9, I know with a little bit more effort, if I got a 24.9 and just a little bit more effort, I can get a 25. But I got to see that number. I got to have some type of feedback device to give me a number in order for me to break something. Because if I'm jumping without knowing where I'm at, I might as well just be playing in the dark.
So in saying that, loaded jumps and talking about trap bar and stuff like that being too heavy, how do you establish what the appropriate weight is to jump with?
I can't say that because I put it in the jump book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want to, because it wouldn't be fair for the people that bought that to dispel that information. But there are numbers and calculations in order to figure out what to jump with, how to jump, and all that stuff along with it.
Okay. Well, I know that the people that bought the book appreciate your integrity on that and not just divulging all the secrets on a podcast. So at one time, I know that you were strictly loaded jumps. Now, have you backed off that and you're intermixing loaded and unloaded jumps now?
Yeah, we do both unloaded and loaded. The thing about the kids or any type of that, they put so much more emphasis on without because everybody wants that high number. But if you don't break that number loaded, you're not going to break that number unloaded. It's almost like you got to increase, like if you got to increase someone's 225 bench press max, you got to make that 225 a less percentage of their absolute max. So you're going to rep 225 more times if it's 70% of your max versus whether it's 80% of your max. So you have to, but everybody just thinks they need to do, you'll get some people, hey, I'm going to have an endurance day. I'm just going to work on how many reps I do at it. Well, if you just worry about increasing your absolute strength, the reps will come, instead of killing a day doing, once you've reached a certain load, there are certain people that can do more reps at a different, so 60%, there are some people that can do more reps at 60% than others, but you got to get that 225 to be a less percentage of the absolute max. Once you get to a certain level, and I don't know where that level is, I just keep increasing their strength. But then trying to show them it's about how fast you get to that number. So if you're going to get to 24, you need to get to 20. Within a certain time period, you have maybe a 40 or a 30-second window before the reps drop off. And so what I did for the kids at the gym, I put 315 on the bar, and I did 6 reps at first, but I had it more slow and controlled. And I did 6 reps in 16 seconds. And my last rep of the 6, I could barely lock out. And so I wanted to make sure I did the slow tension first. And so they were all watching me because I was trying to teach them this 225 thing too, so that they can see it in person. I then rested about 5 or 6 minutes. I said, all right, now I'll do 12 reps in the same amount of time. And they said, there's no way. And so I ended up doing 12 reps at 315 and 18 seconds. And I was moving so fast that I intentionally slowed it down because I was trying to match, because I knew I was doing about a rep per second at 315. And so by the time I got to my 12th rep, I went down slower on 12 so that I could make the lockout simulate the same lockout as the rep 6 was. And so it was very similar speed on that last rep, but it was all within the same time frame. So, I don't know where the time frame is for the 225, whether it's 20, 30, or 40 seconds, but you've got to get so many reps before that hourglass runs out of time or out of sand.
Yeah, you're starting to get into some stuff that Louis talked about, especially with your absolute strength. The ability to strain is what builds the strength, and then your reps come with that. It's hard to do the other way around. Reps are not going to build your absolute strength.
Yeah, it's just almost like you can do 100 push-ups, but you can't bench 135. What the hell is that for?
Now, I know also I was talking to you about this here a while back, and how much, I don't know, I don't think people realize this, but how much the bench press improves throwing speed and hitting power.
I had a dad, and I forgot to call him and get this jotted down before, because he was talking about this the other day, because he's listening to my podcast stuff. And so he started bringing his kids to the gym. Kid plays baseball. That's the only notes I wrote it because I forgot to call him to finish up the notes. Because he told me at the gym, I said, I got to go write this down. He said, I'll get it later. And I forgot to clean it up while I was at the gym. But the kid could not hit a ball over a 270 foot fence with a drop 5 bat. Nope. I think when you're at 13, once you're at a certain age, the bats or the alloys of the bats have something to do with it. Now he was hitting the ball over a 320 foot fence with a BB core. Again, I have no clue what that means. He just told me the BB core is more of a deadened alloy, because as you become more or get older in baseball, these kids are getting more power. A drop 5 bat with a different alloy, the ball speed, the ball comes off the bat faster, and it can be a lot more dangerous to play. So they got almost like a wooden bat's more dead than an alloy bat for the college to professional. So they're trying dead bats. But end of the story, the kid is hitting the ball further with a more dead bat than he was. And he said, Jared, the only thing he's done is increase his bench press. He's not going to swing practice or anything else like that. And so, and I should have wrote the kid's bench press improvements down, and I did not. I was so concerned about this kid that went from 315 to 330 to 350 month after month. And this one kid, he did 225 for a max. And by the end of the month, I mean, these kids are getting these things on month. He did 325 max, and he did 325 max, and he did 335 for 3 within the same month. So not 225 to 235. So his max was 225, and they did 235 for 3. I'm just trying to show, like, hey, if you're coming here, you're going to get, and what happens is I had a high school sophomore bench 365. And his buddy at the beginning of semester, well, this was probably when he was a freshman. No, I get this kid to bench 315 his freshman year. Him and his buddy both started off the semester bench in 245. And this kid is a high school junior working out with his high school freshman in the weight room at the high school. Well, by the end of the semester, that kid benched 255, 260, and that freshman benched 315. He said, we were both at 245, and one went up 15 pounds, the other one went all the way up to 315. He said, what the hell are you doing? So that high school junior started coming, because they know they're not getting it in the weight room at the school. But the schools are limited to like 30 minutes. It took my kids an hour and 10 minutes just to squat the other day. But I also had a kid squat 475 at a 5'2", at 220-pound body weight.
And we talked about this in our phone conversation the other day. The private sector and the public sector, they get the head button a little bit, but that's not your objective. Your objective is to be a resource to all the high schools around you. So learning to work with those schools to get more athletes. How long of a process did that take?
Forever. It's sometimes people are in our field, like if you're in the private sector, sometimes you get that bad reputation of just trying to make money. And so they think some of the high school coaches think it's more of a money grab instead of actually trying to help them. And for me, it's trying to give the kids the opportunities that I did not have when I was that age, because I went in my high school year, I benched 205 as an incoming freshman. My next year as a sophomore, I benched 250. My next year, going into my junior year, I benched 275. I only went up 25 pounds in a year. And these kids are going up 25 pounds a month. And so I'm making these athletes better at the physical parameter numbers like the sprints and the jumps than I was. And that's my whole thing. Make someone better than I was. And I did not get that in high school. So once I learned how to get it, I wanted to show others that they could get it too. And so for me being frustrated, I mean, I was so dedicated to training in high school that the coaches gave me a key to the weight room so that during the summertime, I go to a weight room on my lunch break. So instead of like everybody else hanging out doing whatever they want to, going out, you're working. I worked at a golf course. I cut grass all day. And so when I had opportunity, I went to the weight room when I had a chance, or I went after work, whatever it was. And so it's not like it was not from lack of effort. I went from benching 315 to 6 to benching 295 for barely 4. I got weaker working out because I didn't know how to regulate my training. And so who the hell gets weaker working out as much as I did? And so then I just couldn't. And a lot of times the coaches back then are just trying to use it as mental toughness weight room. Yeah, we exercise, but we didn't train. There's totally different. They're trying to use it as a tool. Hold it up, hold it up, hold it up, hold it up. Who can hold this the longest or do something crazy? Like let's do push-ups on the minute, 10 on the minute, every minute for 20 minutes or something crazy. Like something more of calisthenic based and to make you unified as a team. What makes you more unification is winning. If you're torturing me in the weight room and we're winning, that just kind of drowns me down to where I don't really want to do that. That's no wonder kids don't want to, if they're in a losing high school program, no wonder they don't want to take the weight room serious.
Now we'll go back to the bench press there for another question. You don't rotate the bench. It's always going to be a bench. You rotate your accessories, and you have a few that you really like to put in there that are bench builders. Now that's a little bit different than maybe the West Side method. So when did you start landing on, hey, the bench press has to stay and we'll adjust these accessories and we'll watch it go up?
I read something in Powerlifting USA. It said to bench a lot, you got to bench a lot. And so I've shown this to so many people over time that if they came in and they bent, like what I was trying to say earlier with Louis guys, as they got older and more advanced, it has to do with training age. Your training age is how many years have you spent in the training process in the gym. If you're 16 years old and you just went into the weight room, your training age, you're 0. You're not even a year old yet. But then if I got this kid or this girl that's been with me for 2 years and she's 8, by the time she's 10, she's already got more training age than the 16-year-old. And so I had this past year I had a girl. She weighs 75 pounds. She squatted in a gym. We don't use belts or any knee sleeves or any of that crap either. It's all straight up raw. So this girl, she was no, she was 9. This girl was 9. She squatted 135 pounds at 75-pound body weight. And so you got these high school sophomore females that are squatting anywhere between 105 and 115 pounds. So you got this little bitty tiny girl weighing 75 pounds out squatting these high school girls. And I said, Jared, how's that possible? I said, because her dad makes sure she's there all the time. He understands the importance of consistency. Now, when I first started, we would batch. Next time we'd come in with floor press. We switched up different things all the time, and our numbers were not moving. And so by me tracking, always trying to monitor the numbers, has led me down different roads and paths. Like how I came up with the dumbbell jumps is because I'm trying to get that vertical jump to move up 1 inch to 2 inches per month, because I know how much it's correlated to the running speed. And I try to show the kids without any, I know I'm going down different rabbit holes, but if I can show them that if they increase their squat and they increase their jump, they will run faster without ever running. But if you get kids that want to come in and squat and run and jump, they're going to think that the sprinting made them faster. So they don't buy into the lifting as much. So if I can get them to, or show them that even the minimum effect of those, if you just come in, you squat, you jump, and they see that 40-yard dash come, it gets better, they will continue to do that. Now, once I start sprinkling in some 20-yard sprints or 10-yard starts or anything like that, they don't discount the weight training. So, but I got to make sure that they understand how important it is to get stronger before you start sprinkling that stuff in there, so that they understand kind of what's going on. Now, I do have some kids that will come in. A lot of people do not like the dumbbell jumps. If you're bad at them, you don't want to do it. If you're bad at anything, you don't want to do it. If you're bad at squatting, you don't want to squat. But if you got a kid that everybody watches squat, he's going to want to squat more because he likes for people to watch him. And so if they increase their squat, like I got this kid, I tell his dad, I try to do everything. I told him he's allergic to the dumbbell jumps. He won't jump. And so he'll increase his squat. His squat goes up 50 pounds and his 40-yard dash stays the same. Jared, I need to get faster. I told your ass needs to jump, because they don't get it. You got both ends of the strength spectrum there. You got speed, strength, and strength, speed. You got strength, speed with the squat, and you got speed, strength with the dumbbell jumps. You tie those two things together. That's your maximum effort day, and that's your dynamic effort day shoved into one training session. So the more training sessions you get under your belt, like if a kid works out twice a week in the bench, that's only 8 bench sessions a month. But now if that kid benches 3 days a week, that's 12 sessions a month. So you go 2 months, that one kid's at 16 and the other kid's at 24. So it's difference between 16 and 24 is 8, which is that kid's now a month ahead of the other kid now. So the other kid will never ever catch the kid coming 3 days a week if he's benching twice a week. And so that's kind of what I tried to show these people. This kid that went from 185 bench to 210 to 250, he was benching 3 days a week. That I got another kid, he went from 165 to 180 to 200. That's 3 days a week. This 13-year-old from 125 to 135 to 145 was going 10-pound jumps, 25 to 35 to 45. Now we got to 160. So we went from 145 to 160, then 180. So what the hell happened? We were going up 10 pounds, 10 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, and now 20 pounds. So this kid's going on the one I just talked about, he's going on a European vacation. He don't want to go on vacation because he don't want to miss the gym, because he don't want to lose the games. You see what I did? I just created a monster. It does. I mean, I had a college kid come in, the one that was at a Power 5 school. And he came in Monday, we benched. He came in Tuesday, we squatted. He came in Wednesday. He said, "What we got today?" I said, "We got a bench again, buddy." And I said, "What the hell did you do at school?" They made, I don't know what he told me, but I was looking at some training programs from other places. I've got college training programs. I got these kids going on to be professional athletes from these NFL teams. I look at their training stuff. I look at these professional baseball training things. And I was looking at a training thing the other day. On Monday, they did safety squat bar. On Tuesday, they did some type of batch, straight bar batch or whatever. Okay. Wednesday, they had off. Now, Thursday, they had squats again, but they didn't squat. They did trap bar deadlift. So they squatted once a week. Then they did trap bar. And then on Tuesday, when they had bench, they had some kind for their main lift was push-ups. I said, no wonder these people are not getting any freaking stronger. That lets you know, okay, that's why that kid got weaker, because they're not stimulated enough. They don't have that training age. That program would be for someone who's trying to maintain. I don't even know if they would, because obviously that kid went back. But who the hell changes up their squat like that? That's what I don't understand. Like, he goes, "What do we got today?" Says, "We got a bench. We're going to bench 3 days a week, and we're going to squat 3 days a week." And so they're not. A lot of these kids are not used to that. But once you show them, like that kid, this kid him and this other kid both benched 315 at school. Well, this kid now benches 350. The other kid comes to the gym, but he's highly inconsistent at coming. I may bench him once, sometimes twice a week, or sometimes maybe once the next week. So there he's not getting the bench stimulus. So, and some weeks I may not even see him for an entire week. So whatever we done, every time he skips an entire week, he just erased all the work he's done prior to that. And so I've been trying to tell him, if you stay here, I'm trying to get y'all fuckers to 405. I'm trying to see this year, if things go right, I should have 5 high school athletes bench 405. And if I do that, I had 6 of them in the gym about 2017, all benching 405. And what I wanted to do, I got 7 racks lined up, but I want to put 405 on 6 of the 7 racks and take a camera and this kid bench 405. Boom. As you just kind of scroll along, as you kind of walk the camera down, you see 6 high school kids bench 405 out of one gym. You know, it's just not one kid. You know, it's everybody getting better. You know, every kid's different. I have to adjust and make their own adaptations. And so that's why I'm showing if your frequency and consistency is the most important thing you can do. You know, like if that's why Louis was Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you missed a day, you're kicked out of the gym, you know. And I had this kid, he said, Jared, what I got, they think at the gym, I do have most of my people, they come every day because they know what they're getting out of it. But then the people that come inconsistent, and when they test with the people that come every day, those inconsistent people, if they care, they start showing up more because they understand. You got to show them so they can understand. And they will start bringing more. Like this one day, because this kid got slower, and he goes, people don't understand the training process. They think they're working out at school that they're getting the same thing. And I got this high school coach. He drops his kid off at the gym, and he sees his other kid come to the gym. He said, Jared, he's been going to the middle school workouts on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He don't need to go there. He needs to come here. He said, they're only lifting PVC pipes at school. And the kids over there benching 175 for reps. So what the hell is he doing wasting his time at school? They're not letting those 8th graders train yet. They're trying to teach them, and they got so many. I think they had 77 of them. They got so many that they can't let them go. And so it's if they knew the difference, they just had the kids come to the gym where I could take care of them instead of them having. Then by the time they get them in high school, they got this much stronger kid. So that kid is going there on Tuesdays and Thursdays to please the coaches because he's showing up for the workouts, but he's not getting better. You know, that's kind of frustrating on my part, but I don't know. So long story, that's kind of how I figure it out. The more, if you want to bench more, you got to bench more. If you want to squat more, you got to squat more. And so then manipulating the numbers in order to show them the progress. You know, like if this kid that went from 315 the first month to 330 to 350, that kid's already improved to 350. We got 405 coming right around the corner if he stays consistent. Now he goes, so him and the other kid, I went over this a little bit, they both benched 315. The inconsistent kid still benches 315. Now his buddy benches 350. If you're my buddy and we were benching 315 together, now you bench 350, I'm showing my ass up at the gym a little more because I don't want you to leave me like that, you know? But it's just this day and age where I think the kids just don't get it. They don't care. And this kid, they'll go to school, they'll do some crazy crap. They did 5 sets of 5 on eccentric, 5 sets lowering the bar for 5 second eccentric reps. 5 reps, so 25 eccentric reps on bench. And he still comes to the gym and still gets his reps. These kids at that age can recover and get the shit done. Whereas, like, I can't go work out in the morning and kind of repeat that in the afternoon. With these younger kids, their hormone levels are so high that they're basically on drugs without even knowing it. Then they were trying to ask you what's the most popular. Just take your protein and your creatine. You'll be fine. You already got what you need. I said, I wish I had what you had because I can't recover like I used to.
That gets taken for granted, that you're dealing with a kid that is flowing with hormones, and what they can recover from is really pretty crazy.
Yeah, so they don't need all this stuff that they think they need. And they come in wanting to, Jared, I need to stretch. I said, you don't need to stretch. Just go. If you're going to warm up for bench, you bench by warming up. You bench to warm up for bench. You squat to warm up for squat. They want to, I don't know where they get all these fancy things from, and it drives me nuts, you know. So
now let's switch gears a little bit and go back to the sprinting. Louis talked about it a lot, and you don't hear a lot of guys talk about it, but the speed barrier, I mean, that's real. And you watch kids that get up and they run so much that they get stuck in what they're doing. And then now they have to come to guys like you, get on the weights, get stronger to overcome the barrier that they've ran into.
Yeah, it's like at a point, running's a skill, so you have to run if you want to improve it. But you're only limited by your absolute strength or your maximum ability. So like once you get that, sprinting's your rate of force event. Sprinting is plyometrics. That's only a display of your absolute power. And so if you have gotten closer to your absolute power ceiling, the only way to get faster is to increase your ceiling height, which is your absolute strength. And so they have maximized their potential with what they have. So like a strength deficit. So like if I'm trying to figure out a way to you can do like eccentric strength. So like if you've got someone doing eccentric strength, so they can only lower 105% of their max. If you get them to lower to where they have the strength level to lower 120% of their max, now they have that gap for more improvement. Does that make sense? It's kind of a touchy thing because I don't do any eccentric training either. So most of our stuff, I know the eccentrics can increase the thickness of the actin-myosin, I think, but by working on different parameters and doing different things like that, I think they're getting enough of that crap at school to where I don't even have to worry about working on it. Even the kids that are not going to school weight training, I still don't work on it because I'm just trying to get those monthly improvements so I can show, if I can show them that they're improving on monthly, I don't have to, all I got to do is turn on the lights and they get to work for me. I don't have to beg them to do something because they see that their buddies and everything else are getting it.
Now, you touched on this a minute ago, but you do all of the methods in one day. So you do a dynamic, a max, and a repetition method all in one day.
Yep.
Now, I know how much you test and all that stuff. When did you figure out that was the best way to do it as opposed to doing a max effort day and a dynamic effort day?
When it was not working because I would do that and it was not improving the athletes as much because before Louis passed away, they used to do 8 sets or 10 sets to in their speed squats. But if you look at some of the stuff now they've done, they started doing 5 sets of 5 for their speed days. So Louis changed as the people coming through the gym changed. Back in the day when he used to do a 3-rep max, as he got more dogged out animals, as far as humans is trying to dog out and kill everybody, their intensity was so high that they didn't have to have that extra volume. And so then they were able to do 8 sets, 10 sets, or 12 sets of 2 on their squat. But then as the environment, as the athletes changed and it became softer, he had to figure out how to get them try harder. So he just had to increase their volume to 5 sets 5. He said that's because they didn't try as hard. And so it's not always the same but for him, he's still stuck with the maximum effort, dynamic effort, maximum effort, dynamic effort. For us, and his low training age, is not enough stimulus.
That makes sense. I've never thought about it in those terms, but once you start talking about it, yeah, the stimulus it's going to take on a low training age is going to be way higher than a guy that's been in the gym his whole life, and he can get more out of that 1-rep max.
Yeah, so it's all just about the kids learning how to push. If you watch a kid bench, they don't have the ability to grind yet. And so, like, if you got a guy that benches for Louis, those guys are always above 500 pounds. So they know if you can bench 500, you know how to grind. But if you got a kid that can't, even the kids that are benching in the 3s, they still have to learn how to grind. They still do not perform well with the 1-rep max. They still need that 3, like what Louis did back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they did the set of 3 because being that the reps are so low, you're still getting optimal discharge frequency out of all the fibers at the same time. But if they don't have that ability or that training age to have that knowledge in order how to grind, then a 1-rep max makes no sense. And so with the kids' ability to be able to recover, you got to think Louis got these guys 20s and 30s. Their recovery rate's a little bit slower. So now I got these teenagers that are sub 20 years old. They can go to school, train, go to spring practice, come to the gym and still get results. And people want to say overtraining. You don't know what overtraining is until you've done overtraining. So if they're still getting better, if they're still jumping higher and they're still running faster than much, that means that they can handle that stress. And now if they're getting worse, it means they can't. So they can't handle the stress of track because they're overrunning them, so they're getting slower at the 40-yard dash. But the bad thing about the track coaches is that they don't know that they're making the kids slower. Their football coaches taught to go make the kids do track after the season, and just by the sheer running economy, they get better at the 100. They get better at 200, but when you test the 40, it's slowing down about 1/10 of a second per month. And I think it's just because they're running. The endurance system will override the power system in the body.
So getting into that a little bit further, switching your muscle fibers from an intermediate fiber to a fast fiber. Have you found that that's easier to do in the box squat?
Yes, the plyometrics don't make fast twitch fibers. Heavyweight lifted slow makes fast fibers. The dynamic effort method teaches those newly acquired fibers how to fire at optimal frequency. So that's why you got two different ends of the strength spectrum. So everybody thinks, hey, I need to do this to get quicker. No, plyometrics, that's just elasticity. So if you're having to go from 0 to 10 or 15 or even 20 yards, there's almost zero elastic energy. You don't use elastic energy till you're out 25, 30, 40 yards out. So your receivers and your DBs. So why are we need? And I asked this kid, they said, plyometrics. I said, where in the hell did y'all even hear these terms? These terms like the plyometrics was like big early in 2000, like when you started to hear them more often, it kind of went away. Kind of like Crocs were big in 2000, 2010, they're almost non-existent. Then COVID came and the Crocs came back. And these kids wearing the Birkenstocks nowadays, like the potato skin looking ones, was wearing those early 2000s. Now they're just coming out and getting every kid in the gym's got them. It's just kind of crazy how things come in waves, but they don't even understand what plyos are. They just hear the buzz term and don't realize they're working on elastic energy. You have to have explosive power, which is starting strength.
Your gym is, it's a laboratory. You're testing everything. It's not, everything gets put in or taken out of a workout through how it tests, either in the vertical or the 40. And you have years of tests that have been accomplished to figure out what needs to be put in or taken out.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I used to use in the beginning that I don't even use now. And my whole goal is if I can make you run faster without running, then if I sprinkle in some running, then you can have earned the right to work on that elastic energy. You got to do this in order to get that. You got to go through algebra 1 before you get to calculus. You can't skip algebra 2 and try to be successful later on down the road. When you got training, you got general, directed, and specific. And you can't skip the first 2 and go straight to the specific because you've not earned that right. You've not earned the right to get a beer until you're 21. There's got to be some level of learning that goes along in order for you to be able to do this over here. You've not put in the work. You don't need to get your paycheck. And so I test throwing speed for my baseball players and my softball girls. All right. So they're not throwing. And so I'm trying to say, okay, can we improve this kid's throwing speed? Are we getting fast? I even bought a radar that tells me, just like the jump mats, that tells me if they're throwing 58.1, 58.2, or 58.9. Because if you just keep throwing a softball or a baseball and you keep throwing up 58, but now if it's throwing up 58.9 with a little extra effort, you can get into 59. You throw a 59.4, I can throw a 50. It just gives them a little extra motivation by seeing that point system instead of seeing that one whole number pop up all the time. That way, if you got a kid that jumped a 39.8, they're not leaving the gym because they're right there on the door at a 40. But if you jump in and just says 39, you keep saying 39, 30, you really don't know where you are. That's why I just like a feedback device that's consistent. I know the jump mag gets crapped on a lot, but I don't care. It's a feedback device that gives me consistent feedback numbers so a kid can come into the gym and break those numbers and ultimately break that 40-yard dash number at the end of the month, because the running and the jumping is correlated. So if I get them to jump higher, we go squat, jump, we're getting stronger. We're working on we're getting our strength. We're increasing our fast twitch fibers. We're getting our fiber shift with the squatting. Now let's go work on the rate at which those fibers are fired with the dumbbell jumps. Then you can get some hamstring curls, GHRs, or straight leg deadlifts and some stuff like that in accessories with that. But if you just come in, you squat, you jump, you'll improve. Like I got a kid that refuses to dumbbell jump, like I said, and his squat has gone up, but his 40-yard dash is not improved. And he says, I got to get faster. Well, you need to start jumping. Chad, I ain't jumping. Well, don't tell me you need to get faster. I'm trying to. There are 30, 40 kids in the gym at some time, and you're the only one not doing it, and you're the one that says you need to get faster, and you're not. That's why I'm trying to use it. That's why I'm trying to test for the kids that are not doing it. If you start doing it, you'll start getting the same numbers. Then if the kids that are doing it, they'll keep trying. Then it's just an atmosphere that keeps almost snowballing on itself. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger because you got these kids coming in. Like I told you, this kid, his dad's coach at high school, he sends his own kid there because he knows I got the time to work with him. I don't care if the kid's there 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. I even bought a pop-up dummy this year. So my defensive guys for football, if they want to go after the work, I've got a large turf space. If they want to go work on their drills, I gave them bought some 8-foot diameter hoops so that they can work and run around that if they want to work on their football stuff inside the gym. I've got bags that they use in NFL combine in high school, those Roger athletic bags, so that they can work on their bag work if they want to work on that. And so I even have some stuff for my long snappers. I got a little short target and a bigger target, so my long snappers can snap into the net. They can track their miles per hour per month, make sure their snap speed is going up. So, like I'm training this long snapper now to get ready for the league. We're tracking snap speed. But he still has snap. So if I could show him that the strength work we're doing is also increasing, but he's snapping and working out at the same time, so he may not get it. But my softball players that are working out and not throwing, if they're improving their miles per hour per month on their throw, they get it. My baseball players, the same thing. I had a baseball player go from 83 miles an hour to 91 miles an hour in a semester. And so now he's trying to come during the season because he knows what happened. He's not trying to get to the season to go back downhill. I said, if you come in the season, because baseball is just sporadic. You got tournaments, you got days that are not consistent. It's not like football. Football's every Friday. And so if you come in, I'm here to help you. I'm not just I don't control anybody on the whistle either. Like I had some kids that were done in 30 minutes squatting the other day, and I had some kids that took 70 minutes to squat. So they took an hour and 10 minutes versus other kids 30. But they were also squatting 450 plus for sets and reps. And so it's going to take them longer. Everybody's got their own, with me, I don't run the gym like a business. I'm not trying to get them in and out. I'm just trying to help them. And so I've got kids, as long as we start at like the 4 o'clock hour, you can't come in at 4:30 and start. You have to come in, you start at 4, you start at 5, you start at 6, or you start at 7. If you get there at 6:45, you're not starting early. If I get a kid that comes at 4:45, they're not coming back through the doors where the weights and stuff are, just to stretch. You're gonna sit in the waiting room and you're gonna come in at the top of the hour. But once you start at the top of the hour, if I got a kid that comes at 4, they may not leave to 6:30, depending on what they got to do. And so once I teach the kids, and once they find out where their sweet spot is on their rest breaks, that's on them. So if we start at the top of the hour and I've got everybody benching or I got everybody squatting, most of them out of the racks by the time the next hour starts. That way I'm not always clogged up. Because all the accessories and we used to jump first, but by the time the kids spent 30 minutes jumping, that they had to spend not 45 minutes squatting, but the racks were not free at the top of the hour. So I have changed up where the jumps are plugged in, but most of the kids do better jumping after squat than they did before the squat. Usually you're taught to do your most dynamic stuff first, but we squat, then we go dumbbell jump. And so that way we're cleared out of the racks and stuff. But after they do that, like the kids that took, I've got 7 racks and 2 monoliths. I got about another monolift because everybody skips leg day. My leg day is so damn busy. I got to add more racks. That's crazy.
Now, potentiating the jump, like you said, if you plug it in afterwards, you get better results. So I would anticipate that the squat is potentiating it. What about iso holds? Does anything like that help increase it?
No. You may get an immediate effect that day, but you won't get a continued effect over time.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You can get something right then. You may get it for 1 or 2 sessions, but like if I got a kid that came in, jumped to 30, and he jumped to 32, then he jumped to 34, I need him, instead of jumping to 34 the next month or whatever, I needed that number always to continue to improve. I don't like no kid at the gym plateaus. Like they may slow down and train, but they don't stop. Like that kid, he benched 345. Next month he benched 360. So next month he may bench 380. It's they don't, by me monitoring and showing them and figuring out their adaptation rates. Like, how do I get a kid to jump? I don't know where I was going. He benched, his max was 225. Then by the end of that month, he was doing 235 for reps. You know what I'm saying? That's within 1 month. That kid's going to want to show up now because everybody wants to improve their bench. And once I use the bench to improve them, they start wanting to do the squats the same way. But you got to throw some type of bone out there. Let them bite on it. Let them get a result out of it. then they want more because then they're learning they're not working for nothing. Just like this, you got 2 high school kids. One's a high school junior, bench max 365. These kids are 220 pounds. They're not 350 to 275. These kids are 215 to 220 pounds, benching 365 and 385 1 month. By the end of that same month, they're repping 385 or 3. They're doing their all max reps. That shows you how important that training frequency is. I'm also letting them, they probably rest 5 to 6, maybe 7 minutes on the bench. My sweet spot is 6.5 minutes. Some kids can get away with 4. Some kids rest too damn long and don't make the reps. So if you, like when I have a kid write their reps, so if I wanted you to come into the gym and I wanted you to bench 315, 4 sets of 5, if you go 5, 4, 5, I know that you probably rested too long or you didn't rest enough because there was a mess up in the pattern of the numbers that were given. But now if you came in 5, 4, 4, 3, I could just say that stimulus was too hard that day. So sometimes I'll have a kid, if I think they're resting too short, I'll tell them to go rest longer, and you can see that the reps are faster. If they're faster, they're easier. Then if I got a kid I see that's resting too long, I shorten his rest, then it's easier. Because sometimes when you got a new kid that's 8th grade or 9th grade, they're looking at my high school kids that are benching mid threes, how long they're resting. You've not earned a right to rest that long yet because you're still weak. And if a kid's weak, I'll tell them they're weak. And sometimes a kid, they'll come in, they'll kind of want come in and do their bench within 15 minutes. If you try to do that, I know you're not strong enough to respect the rest. And rest equals results.
Okay, and I've heard one of your podcasts talk about this, and you touched on it there a little bit without touching on it, but feelings don't equal results. Results equal results. And sometimes it's a hard conversation to have with an athlete, but it has to be had to get the results you want, that they have to put their feelings aside and just get the work done.
Yeah, I got kids that come in, we test the 40 the last week of every month. And I leave the 40-yard dash set up the entire week because if they test bad on Tuesday, I'll let them retest on Thursday because Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday are squat days, depending on which time of the year. Right now, I'm closed on Sundays and open on Fridays. But during football season, I'm closed on Fridays and open on Sundays. So our squat days are Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And our bench days are Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And so I will let them retest that week I set up because I don't dedicate. So I got some kids that'll come in and they'll want to squat. Hey, I'll squat Tuesday, Jared, and I'll test Thursday. Okay, that's fine if they don't want to miss their squat. But I said, I still got to get that time. I need to show you where you are. And so I'll leave the 40 set up for them all week, and I'll go over there and I'll test them just to make sure that I get their number. I don't like them to skip test week, and you'll get some kids that will come in, Jared, I don't feel like testing today. No, you're testing. I'll tell them if I, like that one kid, I may let them squat or whatever, but there's some kids, no, you're testing. Because I know they're trying to get out of testing. They may not show up Thursday. But I said, no. And so I don't feel like I'm going to do good. I said, I don't care about your feelings. And so sometimes when you get a kid like that, they'll go over there and they're nervous about testing bad, but they actually test better than what they did prior. But it could be the nerves. And you got some kids that come in there excited to test. Jared, I'm going to kill it today. And they get a bad number or something like, Jared, what's going on? Well, I don't know what you did the day before, And I'll try to tell them they don't believe me that doing something on their legs the day before really hurts their testing day. So last year, this kid named Dorsey, he's probably the fastest kid. He's the strongest and fastest kid in the gym right now at 220 pounds. And he's supposed to run a low 4.7 40-yard dash. And he came in running a 4.8, 8.8, 4.91, 4.9. He's not ran a 4.9 since he's a freshman. And I said, I told y'all not, because they're playing rec pickup basketball, so it's not like school basketball. And he said, how's that even possible? I said, I told you, if you do something on your legs the day before, if you practice your sprints, your 40-yard dash time is going to be bad. And I see these kids at the NFL Combine running in the hotel the night before or working on their starts the day before the Combine. Well, I know that coach don't track results all the time, And so you see these kids pay these astronomical numbers for a guy that don't really know. He's got a theory or he thinks, but where is the concrete numbers at? And so he went to school Monday because Monday was up by day for them, so he didn't have to worry about it. But in Tuesday, he skipped school Tuesday, so he didn't have to do the legs at school because he was going to retest what he did Sunday. And where at the gym, I got to open up the doors because they slow down outside, but they finished a full 40 on the inside. It was raining, and I didn't want to test him because I didn't want to slip, fall, break something, or mess up the training process. That's not. I'm running. I said, "You're only running one if you're running one." And he wanted to run so bad because he was trying to see if I was lying to him. And all the kids knew what he ran the day before because how pissed he was. And so you got athletes, probably 20 to 25 other athletes standing around. And I told them what was going to happen. I said, he didn't listen to me the other day because he ran on his legs. He ran a 4.8, 4.9. And I said, he's probably going to run his 4.72, 4.73 today. And he puts on his cleats or whatever, ran 140. He ran a 4.73. They go, Jared, how do you know that? I said, I've seen it too many times not to know it. And so I'll even call out their speed numbers. Like this same kid squatted 475 at a 5.2. Before he squatted, I told one kid, I said, he's going to squat at a 5.1. And so then I videoed the 475 for 3. And he held up 5.2. So I was pretty close. Because you got to know all the athletes. You got to know them, you got to know their mindset and try to watch them and let you know that you're paying attention to what they're doing. And this kid, he's going to go to Harvard and play, but I don't know how he's going to do because he's never regular squatted. He's so strong he don't even have to work out at school. And so that's kind of rare, but he was kind of the star of the football team too. And so it's kind of rare that I got him pretty much all to myself for the strength stuff. But he was one of the kids when he was a freshman going into his freshman year. Before high school started, he ran a 4.88 40-yard dash, complete laser. And then he's been with me since 6th grade. So he was already there, and he was there during COVID when I had all my college. So I threw him in with all my college guys. You had guys from Penn State, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Elon. All my D1 guys were all in there at one time. And so he was a little turd as a kid because he just kind of wanted to play around and not take it serious. So I wanted him to see that the people he's been watching on TV, how serious they take it. And so he started trying harder. He ran a 4.88 before going into his freshman year. Then they started talking him into running track. And I said, don't do it. And ends up going to track season, came out of track running a 5.2 something 40-yard dash. He was pissed. I said, I told you. He said, Jared, that don't make any sense. I said, they just overrun you. They don't know what they're doing as far as hurting your 40-yard dash time. They may know what they're doing as far as proving your 100-meter time, but they're freaking you up for your 40-yard dash time. So the next year, when it came track season, he told him he was not running track. They ridiculed him in the hallway. They ridiculed him the entire semester from January till spring ball happened. When spring happened, I had him running a 4.7 that year at 220-pound body weight. So we were 180 pounds running a 4.88. Now we're 220 running a 4.7. And the coaches were like, holy cow, the speed and power that this kid's got. So the next year is when the coaches started sending their own kids to this. But, then I had another kid he ran track. And I said, look, this just happened to Dorsey last year. This happened to this kid this year. How I found that out is because I was testing my own son, Colton, in the gym because I was trying to get him ready for camps. And so he was beating people in 8th grade in the 200-meter by 10 to 15 yards. All of them. He was county champion, everything. He was killing them. So I don't know if I was not doing complete laser time at that time. I was doing manual start, laser finish. And so once I started becoming more complete laser, not interacting with it, let the laser take care of itself, that's when I started tightening up my numbers. That's why I started seeing these kids because him and his buddies would go track. And as track season went on, their 40-yard dash time got worse. And so that's how I kind of found out what they were doing. And it's just not that one school. It is all these local high schools around. The kids have gotten a lot slower. I don't know what they're doing in track, but it's not one high school. It's all these other ones. And so that's frustrating when you're trying to help them and a coach is trying to get them to run track, but the kid's not going on a track scholarship. He's trying to get a football scholarship, and you're killing his potential of running a good 40-yard time when he goes to these camps this summer. And that's kind of frustrating. But now the kid that ran track last year that I told not to run track because he got slower, he had to experience a whole year of going through track and get slower to understand. So this year is not running track. And so I told those dads that same story about the kids doing track, and now those kids are not running track this year. But the high school coach wanted them to do something to track, so the dad put them in shot put to where they don't have to run. They just throw a shot. And so we're still able to get our gains.
Now, you said something way back in there, and I took a note of it because I talked to another coach about this, and it kind of dawned on me. You have to sell something they like to get them in there and then start pushing some of the stuff they don't like. So the bench press, you mentioned that. You gotta get them in on something they enjoy, like the bench press, and then start upping those numbers. Well, then the squat will come with it because maybe they don't like the squat, but hey, this is working here. I'm going to try it here and see what happens. I don't think that always gets done. I think sometimes it just gets said, this is our program and this is what we're going to do. And I think you have to sell kids on one side of the idea to get them in on the other side of the idea. And sometimes you have to play with their minds a little bit to get that done instead of just stamping your fist to the table and saying, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. And so like we'll squat, and I don't push the squat as hard because you got to get them in. You got to get them in there at least squatting frequently enough to get some type of running result out of it. But once they get that running result, or if they get that bench result, and it's working on, like you said, on the bench, they're going to want to squat. But if they see that 40-yard dash time show up for squat, you can start killing them on the squat because they're going to want to do it. Like that Dorsey kid, he will not regular squat because he's so scared to lose his running speed. But he's learned that over time of seeing other people and seeing himself up and down in these times. You know, sometimes you just got to let them do what they want to and try to prove you wrong, and you ain't prove me wrong.
In all of this, me and you talked about it a little bit here a while back, but you kind of have to throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. It's not being afraid to try a few things, test it, then pull those things out and see what's going on with your 40 to know if you did land on a good idea.
Yeah, we had pushed the prowler a lot. You know, when I first started gym, the kids were coming out of the gym more tired, more sweating and things like that. But I was more or less getting them in and out in an hour. And the kids were coming out tired, and the parents liked the appearance of the kids, looked like they put in work. But when I was testing their 40-yard dash time, by doing that extra conditioning, our 40-yard dash times would get worse. Then I'd take the prowler out, they'd get better. Put the prowler back in, get worse. I said, okay. And I've got 4 prowlers that sit in the corner of the gym that we don't ever use. And so it's like, okay, we'll add this in, like we'll do floor press with chain because that'll help increase our bench press a lot. But we'll do that for 2 months. And then next month or next 2 months, we may go incline because those 2 things will help your bench press and along with the tricep press down. So with those 3 things, you get your bench press to go up. And so we don't deadlift the kids unless they got a high stick. So if they got a high sticking point when they squat, then I may add some deadlifts in, but it's not pushed. It's just done for volume. But you can get them to increase their broad jump with doing 45 hypers. And I found out that putting a ball on their back and then having them do heavy 45 hypers for sets of 3 to 5 directly correlates to their broad jump. And so when I do that, their broad jumps go up about 6 or so inches. When I take it away, the broad jump stagnates. Even with the dumbbell jumps and the squats going up, sometimes the broad jump don't go as well. But if you do something with a 45 hyper and a loaded 45 hyper and go up, I had a 150-pound female go from a 7.2 to 8.4 broad jump for doing 45 hyper. And so I got these kids right now, broad jumps really big for the pro days. So if you get a kid that jumps the 30-inch vertical, but they jump a 9.6 broad jump, they got a higher chance to get drafted by having a better broad jump than they do a vertical. But we do the vertical because the vertical is correlated to the 40. So you got to kind of tie all these things in. So if I got someone that's got a broad jump and they have to run a 40-yard dash, we're going to squat, jump, 45 hyper.
Well, I know.
Then we'll work the drills because the shuttle drill and the 3-cone L drill are all about footsteps. But I break it down even further. We don't do the full shuttle until they're consistently, if they come in on their first one, we run a half shuttle in 2.2 seconds or less. Then we'll work on going to the other side. So once they do come in cold and do the other side at 2.2 or less, then we start putting the whole thing together. Because a lot of people overrun it. Like this kid has gone somewhere before and they just keep running the drill over and over again. If you just keep running the pro shuttle or the 20-yard dash, whatever they call it nowadays, if you ran the full thing over and over again, you are absolutely gassed. You're going to get your best bang for your buck the first 10 yards of the shuttle. So if you could learn, go down, touch that line, come back, and it's done complete laser to where they can see their times. So over time, I got these high school kids that start off running a 2.7 in the first 10. Now, just by working on steps, working on getting there, touching that line and getting out, they're running a 2.2. So you can knock off a half a second, but you're not going to knock off that much on the backside. Usually their backside is about a 0.19. So I know if I can get the other part down and work on running, you can run a lot more half shuttles than you can a lot more full shuttles. And so then I just break it down. Maybe the L drill, the first 15's 3.3 seconds or somewhere around there. I've got all the notes more at the gym than I do here in front of me, but I try to look at where they are and where they need to be in order to run a certain thing. Because like if I'll pull up, so for my guys training for a pro day, if they're running back, I had a running back a couple years ago. I looked up the last 4 years that the running backs entered the draft, and I wrote down their 3-cone, their shuttle, their bench reps, their vertical, and their broad jump. And so for the last 4 years, you get the best numbers. You just don't get the best numbers out of the last year. But if you could pull from 3 to 4 years prior, those numbers are a little bit higher standard numbers. And so I try to get all my people top 5 categories of all those things. So if I can put them in the top 5, I know they got a higher chance of getting picked up. And so I had the guy I did that for, the running back, he got picked up by the Rams. Then I had a punter that got picked up by the Titans. And so because the combine is so important, or they wouldn't be measuring for that 40-yard dash time. If you look at the 40-yard dash and a broad jump, that makes or breaks someone from getting drafted. They've done the drill work. Like everybody wants to go work on their drills, open up their hips and stuff like that. That's all for show. They've done that at football practice their entire life. You better be able to run a good 40 or jump a good vertical or broad jump. The jumping shows athleticism. So I had a kid that was 6'7", 320, 6'7". And I had him, he was repping 365 in high school. And by the time he went, he played in ACC, won't say the school, but Power 5 school. And he came back to me with a 315 bench. And so what happened is at 315, at 320, but you're not even repping your body weight out. But he played all 4 or 5 years at Power 5 school, started, did not come to me. He didn't train with me for his pro day or whatever. He went somewhere else and trained. They leaned him up, got him down to 320. So he looked better, but his vertical jump was a 19 and he had 12 reps at 225. And so when his scouting report came back, usually like vertical jumps usually associated with athleticism. And so they wrote poor athletic ability. And he was weak. Yeah. So then he started, after getting defeated like that, then he started training with me. We got him to 18 reps on the bench, got his vertical up to a 24, and didn't run his 40, but he never got a camp invite. So he just quit training and went to college to become a coach. It's kind of crazy, Those numbers are important, so you better figure out which ones are important and learn how to attack them.
Now, we've talked about male athletes a lot, but I know as the gym's increased with athletes down there for you, you've had to learn how to adapt to the female athlete. What have you learned in the differences in male and female athletes and how to coach that?
you got to tell a female athlete they can do it. You tell a male athlete they can't do it, they're going to try to give you the middle finger and try to prove you wrong. Like for male, this kid last year, we could talk about the ratios too, but his squat ratio did not match up. He said, Jared, I'm running a 4.9. I said, nope, you're going to run a 5.07. He said, I'm running a 4.9 today. And I said, no, you're not. I said, at best, you're running a 5.07. And he said, Jared, it's not all about the ratio. And so he ran 4 times or 5. It was 4 or 5 times. I don't care how many times they want to run a 40 in that one. I'm not letting them run 1 or 2 and be done. I'm trying to get the best number out of them that day. And if I don't get it that Tuesday when we test and they come back Thursday, I'll let them retest Thursday and they get a better number, because now the next month we always got to beat what was best. We don't beat what was, so if you let them run 2 and they could have ran their best on the third, why not? Some kids do run better on the third, but most of them run better on their second one. So usually their first 40-yard dash time is okay. The second one's the best, and that third time they run it is usually in between number 1 and number 2. And if the kid's really in shape, that third time could be their best time too. And so if they're out of shape, it goes good, bad, worse. But if they're in mediocre shape, that second 40-yard dash is in between the first 2. But if they're in really good shape, they can get better. They can improve 3 times in a row. That's been pretty interesting to see. But the guys are going to give you, like I told a kid who was benching the other day, he said, how many you got? I said, you're going to get 2.5. He said, no, I'm getting 3. I said, no, 2.5. I said, you're going to get right here and get stuck. He goes, F you, Jared, watch this. And he got all 3 reps. He said, told you. And, it's just that combative nature with the males. But that kid running and he said, no, I'm running a 4.9 today. I said, not possible. It's not all about the ratio, Jared. And he ran 4 or 5 times and he ran a 5.05. So he beat me by he ran, I said a 5.07 and he ran a 5.05. And he said, I feel so defeated. I said, it's not my job to make you feel defeated. It's my job to tell you the freaking truth. I said, if you're not there yet, you're not there yet. You can't make something happen if it's not there. And so that combativeness with the males. Now, if I go over there and tell a female, you can't do that. Oh, I can't. I'm like, you can. You're supposed to tell me that, watch this, Jared, I'm going to prove you wrong. No, it's not like that, Jared. You're the professional. I'm like, what? Where the hell does this come from? And the females, like, you have to know you can do it. And you get a lot of them coming, Jared, do you think I can do this? With the guys, I said, nope. I'll say straight up no. With the girls, you got to say yes. And so it's just kind of, you got to be a little bit more encouraging. Like, there's this guy that comes to the gym, and I was laying down the bench, and he goes, Jared, you got this. I said, I know it. Like, I don't like to be told. I'd rather someone doubt me so I can prove them wrong. But the girls want you to believe in them so that you can help to encourage them along the way. And so it's just kind of, it's been a learning process for the last 2 or 3 years about the female mentality, because they're so much more feeling based. I don't know if the hormone differences or whatever. If the guy tells me I don't care about the guy's feelings, but I've learned to care about the girl's feelings, because you gotta be a little different for them. Now there's some of them, and it's very rare, that will try to give you the middle finger and prove you wrong. But for the most part, they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, damn it. Why do y'all think that way? And I guess I just look at you, well, they're looking at you as like you're the more older, experienced person. If you think they can't do it, they think they can't do it. And that drives me wrong. I'm telling you can't, so you can give me the middle finger and prove me wrong. But
now we've been going on quite a while, and I'll kind of start wrapping this up. But the one thing I think we talked about on the phone call here a while back was, it may get left behind in some aspects, but you have to keep that muscle under tension as long as possible for it to grow and for it to get stronger. Creating an environment where you're in the good form, absorbing the force, keeping that muscle under tension, the mind-muscle connection it takes to get that muscle to grow. Do you find that takes a little while to get athletes to understand that concept and buy into that?
Not really. I guess the gym's grown to a certain level right now. They just say, Jerry, what I need to do, and I'll do it. Back in the day, it could have been a little different, but for right now, it's just tell me and I'll do it. And I got some new kids that have started coming the last 2 months. I ain't even talked to them. They're in there doing everything. And I'll try to go over there and say something to them. And they just some of them like to just be left alone until they get adapted to that. The environment's pretty intense, especially when you've got kids that's been there for 5, 6, or 7 years. Dorsey's been with me for 6th grade. He's about to graduate this year as a high school senior. He's been there 6 years. And you got those people that's been there for that long, the camaraderie for the people that's been there that number of years. And so once you're the new guy stepping in and you're not at that level or their strength level, you kind of like almost shelter back and kind of do your thing. But I'll go over there and I'll check on that. I'm good, Jared. And so just to try to make sure, because I know the environment, because the people tell me that the kids at school will tell me that the kids from their school don't want to come because they don't want to be embarrassed. And so I can understand why the kids over there doing something by themselves. Look, if you're going to bet, you need to get me to come spot you or someone else to come spot you. Most of the time they come get me because they're not warmed up to everybody else. And so it's crazy. And like, even with the girl, like I'll go check on the girls, and the girls really like to be left alone because they always think that someone's judging them. Like if I go over there and throw a baseball and someone sees how fast I throw it, a guy will come over there, Jared, watch this, I'm going to beat you. And where the girls will go over there, they don't want to throw the ball. No one wants to throw a ball in front of, they don't want to throw the ball first. So I was training a whole lacrosse team, and it was just me and the girls in there together. And none of the girls wanted to go because they were embarrassed to throw. I said, don't y'all freaking pass the ball all the time? So no one wanted to see what their speed numbers were. But the girls don't even know what's good or bad. They just know a number is going to show, and they don't want to see if it's good or bad. And I've learned that for the females, they don't want to do something because they don't want to look bad at it or feel bad at it. And it's kind of like, I went over there, checked on some girls, like, hey, Jared, what are you doing over here? Can you leave? And so it's just kind of funny.
Now that you mentioned that, I've seen that in the gym here, trying to get the younger freshmen, 8th graders like that to come in. Well, when they come in, they're going against juniors and seniors and kids that are getting ready to go off to college, and they're prepping, and they're, the environment is a different environment, and a lot of them aren't quite ready for the intensity. They've never felt that. So yes, they will go into their shell, and you got to give them time to come out of that.
Yeah. And I don't push I go check on them. I make sure they're getting their reps, because it's all the kids all the time on the verge of making or missing their reps. It's not clean. It's not pretty. Like I said, if a kid had sets 5, he goes 5, 4, 4, 3. We may come in and try to clean it. Sometimes you got to make a mess out of their number pattern. We don't take off weight either. So if you got 220, if you got 315, I want you to do 4, 6, 5 with it. If you get a 5, a 4, and a 3, you're not taking off weight and going down 295 to get the 5s. I need to see how your number pattern out in order to how to adjust the next number. Everybody's numbers are just adjusted per training session. So like session 1, how they do. Session 2 is based off 1. 3 is based off of 1 and 2's patterns. 4 is based off of that. And then just kind of builds based off how I know the numbers are going. And usually you got a 5% rule. If you can get 5 reps of something, you can add 5% load and go down and get sets of 3 with it. Very, very precisely. The kid, I had a kid, the kid that benched 360. He did 345. Then he said, Jerry, you think I should do 355? I said, no, do 360. Well, if I'm going to do 360, I'm going to do 365. I said, remember, 5%. 5% of 300 is 15. You're not to the force, so you've not earned a 20-pound jump yet. So if you see a kid, if you notice, if you're working with young kids, they can go from killing 110 on the bench to getting crushed at 115 on the bench. There's 5% of 100 is 5 pounds, so you can make 5-pound jumps. If you're in the 300s, you can make 15-pound jumps. If you're in the 400s, you can make 20-pound jumps. And so, Jed, you think I should do 350? I said 350, 345 is the same tension. Your body's not going to know any difference. I said, just put 360 on the bar. He put 360 on the bar. It probably took him 5 or 6 seconds to get it up. But if I would have dropped the pin on the bar as he was pushing it up, he would have missed a rep. So that means 355 would have been too easy. and 365 would have been too heavy. So that sweet spot right in the middle. I've also had kids I'll tell to do sets of 3 at 310. Well, fuck, if anybody knows weight training, 310 is 5 pounds away from putting those 3 wheels on the bar. Everybody wants to put 3 wheels on the bar and wrap it. And so, and I wanted him to do sets of 3 with it. And on his last set of every rep, on this last rep of every set, barely squeaked it out. So if I would have went to the 315 like they wanted to do and not monitor their numbers, he would have missed the reps there. And so you can see based off how those numbers are, even if you go into a powerlifting competition, you only got 3 attempts at a max in competition. And so we've been competing for 12 or something years in powerlifting. And so I've got to be very good at calling these numbers. And so I know from the gym, whatever they do, and the gym for squatting, we don't use a belt. We don't use any type of supportive thing for bench or whatever. And so whatever they've done for their max rep in the gym, that's our second attempt. And so something they've done for like 3 reps just to get on the board to make sure we don't bomb out is our first attempt. So we'll go in, and then based off how that second attempt looked in competition, I know if they're at if you're at 242, I know I'm going to call 253, because at 242, 253, 264, 270, then 275, 270, 275 is kind of right there. It's kind of cool that you can put it on and get 275, but then it jumps to 286 and 293 and 297 and 303 and so forth and so on. And so you got to kind of know based off where the kilograms, how to make those jumps. And so jumping it in kilograms, I still jump it in pounds off the pound chart because it's a little bit more, it's a little easier, because with the kilograms, you got 5 kilograms, it's 11 pounds. And if you're a low 200-pound bencher, I know you can't make the full 5 kilogram jump. So we have to go 2.5. You tied let's go something, break your record. And then the next competition we come to, whatever your third attempt was, and what we start our first attempt with next competition. So you better be getting in the gym and get strong, because there's no point in training and not, if you're training, you're going to get stronger. So, and I saw this time after time, we'd go to competitions, and these kids were coming, these competitions a year later, hitting close to the same numbers they were last year. What the hell y'all been doing? And they say, Jared, what do you do for bench? I say, we bench. And I said, what do y'all, like, I didn't tell them we bench 3 days a week, but we bench 3 days a week. And they would do bench, 2 benches, and maybe 1 military press. So they were only benching twice a week. So I knew I was on to something at that point in time. And that was early 2010-ish. So
now I'll wrap up with this question, because your athletes do so well, but it probably took a while to get there, where when you send your athletes off to combines and you send them off to be evaluated, getting them to cut loose and leave it all there, give them their best effort, mentally tough enough to give everything they have at whatever combine or, that they're in. The mental prep, how were you able to get them there where they're the best there?
Just by running the drills in the gym. Everything's timed. So even when they're practicing the drills, like I said earlier, they're timed. And so we only run those shuttle drills, L drills, and we only work on that. They're jumping. They jump 3 days a week. I don't know how many. There's not a set number of sets and reps we do on jumps. We jump, we break our record. The volume over time will even itself out. And so sometimes you may spend longer jumping than other days. So they always know about where their jump numbers are. So when my kids go jump somewhere, they're cocky because they'll see someone jump a 30, then they know that they're higher than that, and they're like, watch this. Then everybody else, how do you do that? Then it makes them want to go even harder. So the mental prep for the jumping is easy. The mental prep for running the shuttles and things comes from doing the shuttles in the gym. And if they slip on one and they see their times are not what they thought they were, so like they come in and have like one mishap, have like a little slip and run. And so like we're just doing the first 10 of the pro shuttle. If they don't touch the line perfect, or if they feel bad and they run through, they still can break their number. And so I said, just because you slip or just because you didn't do something that you felt was right, keep going. And so by them doing that and practicing like on a podcast, where if you mess up, we keep going. We don't sit there and kind of restart or whatever. It's fly by night. And so I try to get them to look, just because you think you messed up is not going to be as bad as what you think it is. And so if you just keep going and they see those numbers pop up and they see that, oh, he's right. Then they have, once they leave, they have the confidence. Like I had some football players, the dads told me, a lot of parents said, the coach is running the camp or the combine or whatever this kid went to, they could tell that the kid was trained in how to do that stuff. And that's what I want. It makes that kid feel better, makes the parents feel better. I'm giving them what they asked me to give them as results. And so that's all I can do is help that kid be better than what he was last month, the month before that, and the month before that, and so forth and so on. So it's kind of like they're getting it. They just got to show up, and hopefully for some of their buddies that are there, they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like this kid that did that at that showcases. These D1 schools are coming all over to check out this kid in high school. And this kid, he was one of the ones that on this chart over here, his bench press went from 185 start to 210 the next month 250. He's also gained 17 pounds body weight. He went from 177 pounds to 194 pounds. And his 40-yard dash went from a 5.2 to a 5 flat. Who gains that much weight and still loses 0.2 of a, I'm doing my job. I'm giving that kid 1/10 of a second off per month, like I said, and he's gaining weight. But he's also gone from squat maxing 265 to box squatting 330. We didn't talk a whole lot about the squat or even like the limiting factor for them running the box squat. And I did you watch that YouTube video I did on how to box squat for sprint speed, where I talk about the ratios and stuff like that. That's how I knew that kid was going to run that 5.0. I said 5.07 and ran a 5.05. I don't know why these numbers, like those specifics, stick in my head. I guess because he beat me and I don't like to get beat. But it's kind of like, Jared, if I know that you're supposed to run, if you squat 1.7 times your body weight off the box squat, you should be running a 4.7 40-yard dash. If you squat 1.6 times your body weight, you're going to run a 4.8. If you squat 1.5, that's a 4.9. Or 1.4 times your body weight, it's a 5 flat. I learned that, okay, if you are squatting 1.7 times your body weight and you're running a 4.9, box squatting then is not your answer. You may have to work on the elasticity. You may have to go, we got to go. Squatting is not then for me, it was all about finding out what the limiting factor is. If I got some type of concrete way to measure, I could say yes or no. It's not, I think so. A lot of people want to think, hey, Jared, what do you think about doing this for running speed? I'm not seeing it show up. Every time I've done it and tested, it's not showing up. So why use it? Well, I heard it was good. Yeah, you heard. So a lot of people hear and want to go apply what they hear. Well, that's fine if you want to apply it, but test it. If it works for you, it works for you. If it don't do it. But just because it looks cool, you heard someone say, hey, Jared, this transferred to my running speed. Are you testing on a monthly basis? Are you knowing for real what's happening in and out? Or are you just assuming that it's happening? This kid got faster. He looks faster, but is he faster? Like I got some kids that were at these universities and they came home, Jared, I feel so much faster. Yeah, if you run, if you do drills, you do feel faster. Because you feel like you can move because you're in that pattern of movement. But when I test their 40-yard dash times, they're worse. If you go to NFL Combine, if you go to your pro day, if you go to a camp for summer for football, trying to hopefully get an offer, and you run a bad 40, it don't matter what you feel like. I'd rather feel like ass and run a 4.4 and feel great and run a 4.9. But no one's testing these things. So the only reason I know and I say it in the way I talk what I talk is because I see it happen all the time. And so when I came up with the squat ratios, I had to figure out what the limiting factor was. Why? Okay, I knew that kid was going to run a 5 flat because that's where his ratio was. And he's like, it's not about the ratio. I said, it's not about your feelings. And so numbers matter in your checkbook. Numbers matter for time. Numbers matter for ball games. Numbers matter for ratings on TV. Numbers matter in every aspect. Numbers matter as far as hell of a speed limit. I can go drive my car where the hell I want to go drive it. That'd be fun some days, but then there's consequences. So numbers matter for everything. You get a speed ticket, you got to write that checkbook number. And so I don't know. And that ratio, like if I know someone fits in the ratio, I know I just got to squat them. And if they're not in that ratio, how do we get them in there, or what's the limiting factor keeping them out of it?
Yeah, so you're identifying weak spots through testing, and you know where they should be. So then, if that's there, now I got to go find the next spot.
Yeah, it's all a process of elimination, just like a multiple choice test back in the day. Like I know it's not A, and I know it's not B. Is it C or is it D? And so if I could figure out which one, just limiting factors, where are we at, just to make sure, okay, I know it's not this, I know it's not that. So I don't sit there, I'm not looking for something in the dark. Like I said earlier, it's all about, I know these kids are improving. I can show it on paper. I can show their parents. I can show anybody in the world that wants to look or come in at the gym. Look, this is where we started. And they'll sit there and tell you that, and so it's all about, but, it's just like anybody else. I only had these kids 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and they go off to college, and they may or may not come back. Like I got another kid. Oh, I hate this. He was in high school his whole career. He came to me with a 260 bench max, but he came to me January of his senior year. So we only had January, February, March, April, and May. Then he had to go off to college because everybody goes off to college early nowadays. Linebacker at this Power 5 school, he came to me, it was January, and he benched 260. By May, we was at 330. He came back at Christmas from being at that university, and he was barely able to get 285 for 3. And I was like, geez, if you're barely getting 285 for 3, that means you're probably roughly around a 315 bench. You got to do 265 sets of 5 in order to bench 315. And so that's what I've also come up with at the gym. Like, we do sets of 5, 4s, and 3s. But if the kids got a goal to bench 4 or 5, I said, you have to do 355 sets of 5. I said, because they hate seeing that sets of 5 on their folder. Jared, why do you fucking hate me? I'm like, look, you got to do this in order to get here. You got to step on this rock to get over here on this rock. And I said, I'm not doing it. I said, would it help y'all if I put a freaking chart on the wall? If you do 285 sets of 3, you can bench 315. Oh, yeah, Jared. Oh, okay. I'll make y'all a chart, put it on the walls. That gives them, they know that when they hit those numbers, what they're going to bench. Because the kids want, and they know, like I got another kid I'm training for his pro day. He's so over there at the squat ratios. He's trying to figure out how to get stronger quicker. I'm helping you the best I can, and you've been with me for so. See, he's pissed at himself because he sat on his butt for a month and missed a month of training. He said, Jared, I know it's not you, it's me. I shouldn't have been doing what I did. And now he's trying to make up for lost time, and you can't.
It's going to take what it takes, and you have to put the work in to get there. You can't skip steps, and that's where everybody wants to fall back to is, what can I do here to get faster, stronger? Well, you can't skip steps.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you're trying to help them, and they're getting frustrated because they're not frustrated with me, they're frustrated with themselves. And like you said, it takes time. Everybody has their own adaptation. Everybody responds to stress and strain at different rates of speed. If you're like that, some of these kids, have you ever heard of anybody go from 185 to 250 in 2 months? 8 weeks. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. I had a kid in 9 weeks went from 315 to 405 on his bench. And so, like that 13-year-old, he went from a 30-inch vertical to a 38-inch vertical. He's going from a 5'5" to a 5'2". It's crazy. That one kid, these 2 kids at this one school both bench 315. One's inconsistent, still benches 315. The one's consistent benches 350. Although they're working, both of them are still doing the same school workout. Well, so why is one still 315 and the other one 350? Explosives, the difference is not. And so it's, the schools don't have the time to give them the strength. And I've had some high school coaches stop by and tell, Jerry, we don't have as much time as you do. I know I'm not here to run a factory, see how many times how fast I get the kids in and out. I'm here to see how much I can help the kids. And I think like how long it took years. It took years of them seeing the strongest kids in their program all have come to me. The fastest kids in their program have all come to me. It's like you can, just like we're talking right here, I can tell people these numbers all day long. But then a dad would be like, well, what are you going to do for my kid? No, it's not what am I going to do for your kid? What's your kid going to do for me? I don't work for him. He works for me. If he's not hitting the numbers I want him to hit, that's on him. That's on you. Don't come at me, tell me what can I do for him. I can do anything you want. You just got to give me the time and day. And I mean, I just get pissed over the years because I got the numbers. Everybody thinks they're special. No, I wish the freaking media quit telling people they're special. So it is what, like you said, it is what it is. Numbers don't lie. And like I had a kid, his dad calls. Jerry's been there 3 months. I'm just checking on his progress. And he's trying to compare himself. He said, we started coming to you because this kid came to you and we saw a major difference in him on the field. We know his family. We know the numbers that you did for him. And he's trying to get the same numbers for his kid. This kid showed up 6 times last month, 5 times the month before, and I think another 6 times the month before that. Okay, I got this kid, 10 times in 2 months? And the other kid that they saw results from came every day. I had the kid 24 times in a month. There's no way you should, when you leave the weight room, after every training session, after every bench session, the next time you come in, you should be 2% stronger. And so, like, if you have 12 workouts, that's 24% strength increase. And so if you got 8, you got 16%, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why the training frequency is so high. But you got to give them longer rest breaks. You can't try. I don't push the kids through. I have the kids, like Dorsey and them, they may rest 6 to 8 minutes on their squat days. I'm not trying to, because the higher frequently they squat or the higher frequently they bench, the more time they need in between sets. Because we're not bodybuilding here. We're not trying to have protein degradation or whatever. I mean, these guys they're thick and big, but they're not jacked. They're not muscle bound looking. You got people that come all across the country to just come visit, like when they hear me or whatever, they'll come all across the country just to visit gym, and they are surprised at how strong. There's no way that kid's doing that. Well, you sit just like I do. To me, you think it's impressive. I think it's average. And so when you get these kids in the gym, they think a 36-inch vertical is not impressive. But outside the gym, everybody's impressed by it. But our standards are so high, and that they see these kids jump in these 40s, and they think a 36-inch vertical is really good, but they feel inferior because they're not at the top. And so it's just kind of, over time, they just kind of see it, and it's just an environment where that's why you got those kids that are scared to come in there. Oh, damn, I'm going to jump a 24-inch vertical. I'm not jumping over there. And so I got a mat in the back of the gym for my girls to jump. Girls won't jump in front of nobody. They won't even jump in front of me. I'm even trying to freaking help them. And now there are some that have gotten strong. They'll call for me to come spot them. And then after I spot them, they're like, okay, Jared, you can leave now. But I'm kind of letting everybody go at their own pace as long as we start at the top of an hour. That way, at least my next group can get started. But then if you want to be there 2.5 hours, you want to hang out, talk to me, you want to hang out, talk to these people, it's an environment, an atmosphere. It's not a turnkey or conveyor belt business. You know, I'm there to help them. I'm not there to push them in and out. And so it's, if someone's going to be there with me, I want to help them as much as I can. It's, like I said earlier, it's making them better than what I was. It's not about me. Like, I even skip my workouts. Back in the day when I first started gym, I was making my workouts and like, okay, whatever. But now it's more about them than it is about me. And just because you just got to, I don't know if I've gotten older, gotten softer. It's just, I know that they can do it, and I just want to show them that they can. And so it just, over time, it's like, oh, okay. You know, I'm trying not to be a person that lies to anybody. I just want them to, it's so hard when you got so many people out there on the other side that we like, do this, do this, do this. And they're lying to them like there's some business. And that bothers me. So if someone comes to me, I just want to make sure that they get something out of it. So.
Well, Coach, obviously you're turning out more incredible athletes than maybe any other gym in the nation. So, I mean, I appreciate the time and all the information you've delved into on this. I got notes written like crazy from different things you've said. I can't thank you enough for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, you have a good rest of your Sunday.
You too, Steve. I appreciate you. Have a good day.